The Panthers have everything in front of them to go 4-0 for the first time since 2000. While NC State may seem like an easy opponent on paper, the Panthers need to attack the Wolfpack's 3-3-5 defense better than they did against Syracuse. We preview this matchup and more on this week's Hail to Pitt podcast.
What was your message about finishing it in these final 30 minutes?
Well, it happened in West Virginia where we knocked off number 2. It happened in South Carolina, and it's happening in Pittsburgh today.
Our guys had a lot of guts tonight. We're just going to keep getting better. I mean, that's what it is.
One hell of a game that you will never, ever forget. We shocked the world!
Hail to Pitt. Hail to Pitt. This is the week of October 3rd, 2020, and this is the Hail to Pitt podcast. I'm Alan Tazinski, also known as Taz to some.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Pam.
And I'm hyped because we are undefeated. Let me do that in a way that they would do that on the Bravo channel, because that's what I was watching right before we started the show. We are undefeated. Undefeated. Big news. Big 23-20 victory over Louisville. Louisville Cardinals going down to some sacks on sacks on sacks. And Alex Kessman is back after being ranked 21 by the AP, though, last week. Pitt's now ranked 24th. What up with that? We can't focus on the polls, though. We got business to take care of this week. North Carolina State coming to town. Big noon kickoff. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack, Vince, or you might wind up in a body bag.
Yeah, definitely don't want to do that. If you do, it's not going to just sting for life. It's going to be forever. And the Panthers, an impressive win, a close win, but an impressive win nonetheless against Louisville, as you said, Alan. And all this time you've been talking to me about how you can't just get hyped, you got to stay hyped. I'm starting to learn that because it's hard to get up and get hyped. That's why you always got to stay hyped.
It's just a chore. Why give yourself another chore when it's so much more efficient to stay hyped the entire season? And when you're 3-0, it's that much easier, Pam. Life is good right now, as good as it could get in 2020, I'd have to say.
Oh, yeah, it's good to be a fan of the Panthers. 3-0, headed into a absolutely winnable game, and I know tons of Pitt fans are dreading this because this is a absolutely winnable game, and let the skeptics begin, even though we need good news and we need positivity in the year 2020.
Hey, 2020's given us a lot of bogus stuff, but one thing I'm noticing is that everyone's beating the teams they should beat in 2020 as of now. And that's what Pitt has in front of them. A team they should beat, and we're going to break it all down this week on the Hail to Pitt podcast, baby. We are at H2P Show on Twitter if you'd like to interact with us. If you want to stay hype with us, if you want to H2P us on social media, you do it on Twitter at H2P Show. And then the email, if you want to write a long form message to us, hail the number 2, pittpodcast@gmail.com. We appreciate all the feedback on those platforms, on Panther Lair, on Reddit. We're having a blast. I watched the game with Vince and Pam over the weekend, socially distanced in the backyard, and we were reading the social media during the game, laughing it up, people enjoying that tight ends actually caught a ball. It was a good time, and we appreciate all the social media love. This show is brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. You can get your own podcast started today. Have your own personal producer help and guide you towards podcast superstardom like us. All you have to do is go to prettyeasypodcasts.com. Pam, that Louisville game was pretty close for comfort. We saw the defense show up big. Malik Cunningham got hurt at the end. It ended kind of on a sour note. So today actually is the first real day I'm celebrating the victory because we all obviously were worried for him at the end of that one.
Yeah, it was a tough play. He looked like he was out cold and just unsure about his health, but I think the early reports indicate that he's doing okay,
Yep.
correct? Yep.
Yep.
So now we got those reports and we can celebrate a little bit here. But I mean, I think the story of the game is the defense. They held Louisville to under 200 yards, and I think most importantly, they got off the field after third down. They held them to 1 out of 11 on third down conversions. I think that the 1 out of 11 is the key right there.
Yep. 1 out of 11 on third downs, 3 interceptions, getting off the field. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we seen, Pitt defenses over, God knows how long? So, if you want to talk about recent history against teams like North Carolina, where, they'll hold them 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, and then it's just one pass right over the middle, and it's a first down. You got to do it all over again. That's to me is what has just been so impressive from this unit over these first 3 games.
Now, I said before this game, I was very worried about the deep ball and the speed of the receivers for Louisville. Malik Cunningham's, I think he has a good arm, but was this game and their inability to hit deep because Pitt was just getting after him and covering well, or was he just having a rough game himself, Malik Cunningham? Because I want to be really hyped for what the defense did in this one, but I can't help but think he kind of struggled himself, maybe with the expectations going into that game after they suffered a bad loss to Miami. Or did Pitt just absolutely shut him down, Vince? Which was it?
Well, I mean, I think that there was a lot of pressure put on this guy because Pitt had 7 sacks. You saw even on plays where they got good pressure and he was able to deliver a ball still. He did miss the mark on a couple long throws. I mean, it's not like they had Johnny Unitas back there.
No,
but I think it was a fair amount of just really good defense. And I think a player like this, where Pitt really forced them to make a lot of throws and a lot of quick throws. He isn't the kind of guy that's going to be able to beat this defense.
And the one big pass he had was a blown coverage, like completely blown. So besides that, the DBs I thought played well, and then they got to get the defensive line just totally stepped up to the task and living it up to it. And diving into my Phil Steele magazine more and more lately, Pam, I noticed that Pitt, this is pre-Twyman, was ranked number 2 according to that prestigious publication. And the second best defensive line unit in the entire country behind Clemson, totally living up to it even without Jalen Twyman. My goodness, Cansey coming up, stepping up huge, and of course Jones and Weaver dominating against Louisville.
Yeah, Rashad Weaver missed that first game, but we're able to see what he would have been able to provide for this already strong Pitt defense last year in these past two games here. But I think Patrick Jones has been emerging. Even last year, he got the reps and he was able to be a star in that defensive line. So I think, absolutely. Pitt probably does have, I think Pitt does have the second best defensive line in the ACC.
Maybe even the best by the time it's all said and done.
We'll see.
Patrick Forty, a collegiate writer that you're a big fan of, Pam, he had an article, his 40-yard dash on SI.com, and he listed Rashad Weaver as possibly a dark horse for the Heisman Trophy. He's that high on him.
Take that, Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, and yes, that's 3.5 sacks on the season for Weaver. But it's just all across the board. We talked about last week Keyshawn Camp, how he needed to have a big game, pushing the pocket in the inside. He didn't show up on the stat sheet at all.
He set the tone though early.
Exactly. He didn't show up on the stat sheet at all, but his presence was felt every play that he was in there. Just very impressive. And, just all around, this is a quarterback and Cunningham, he didn't rip off any big runs either. When they got to him, more often than not, they brought him to the ground. And that is just absolutely critical. We're not killed on the ground whatsoever.
But can I be the Debbie Downer?
Go ahead.
Hawkins had a 75-yard run, and that was on the ground. They got killed on that play. There was two big miscues, that 75-yard run on Hawkins and a blown coverage on a 20-yard pass to Tutu, which that wasn't terrible, but that Hawkins run was not good.
Alan, could you break down X's and O's, Y's, what happened on that play?
So on that play, the Pitt was up going into that drive. And I think the confidence started creeping in a little too early in this game. So what we had was a missed assignment. I think we were supposed to see a stunt on this play. Nobody stunted. There was only one person out there because linebackers filled a gap. A defensive lineman was in the wrong gap. Paris Ford's out on an island. He misses the tackle, and boom, you got a touchdown for a long run. And I think that was just maybe the early lead getting to the defense's head a little bit. So that was a wake-up call, that play.
It may have been. And still at the end of the day, though, Pam, only two really bad plays, I would say, that the defense had, two plays that really hurt them. If that's all you're having, that's really not that bad.
No, absolutely not.
Especially against an offense that we kept hearing about that was going to, light the world on fire against us.
And 200 of those yards of the Louisville offense, 75 of them was on one play.
Yeah.
Which is, and then if you take that blown coverage pass out, 100 yards other than that.
Yeah.
I'm not being the Debbie Downer. I just think we needed to talk about that Hawkins run.
And the blown coverage that Tutu Atwell, benefited from, that was immediately after that fumble from Kenny Pickett that was reviewed and ruled a fumble and gave Louisville some great field position. So maybe, if it wasn't for that, if they didn't have that great field position, you make Louisville drive, the full length of the field, maybe that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so there are definitely things to clean up for Pitt stemming from this game. And we appreciate, I don't want to call it Debbie Downerism there, Pam. It's just reality. It wasn't a perfect game. It wasn't a perfect game for anybody except Alex Kessman. Alex Kessman showed up big because there were people saying maybe they should bench him, bring a walk-on from intramurals. He went out there and was fantastic, kicking all over the place in the toughest place to kick in all of football, no matter what level you're talking about. He went out. What a bounce back game. Give him an award. Did he at least win some sort of ACC special teamer award? I would hope so. Good.
Yeah, he did.
He deserves it.
Yeah,
so did Patrick Jones as defensive lineman of the week. So
he deserves it. He deserves it. Vincent Davis. We should get him some sort of award. The award for not doing a whole lot, but not doing a little and standing out and being reliable. But still not being being a very medium kind of player, but just level. I'm comfortable with Vincent Davis. I think I've realized, but he's not doing anything huge. He's not busting out big runs or big catches, but he's being reliable and good enough. And I think maybe biding time for that big Abanaconda breakout game, Vince. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I guess we should discuss that. Israel Bonaconda, the last style bender, I thought he had a nice game. Didn't get a ton of snaps, didn't get a ton of reps, but certainly making the most of it whenever he does get in there. He does look the most impressive, physically. And we were saying that about Vincent Davis last year, about how he looked the most impressive. And it was just going to be a matter of time before he asserted himself. And Coach kind of said, leading into the game last week that Bonaconda needed to have a better practice, a better week of practice. And it looks like he did. It looks like he's getting better and better. I like that these two young guys are really taking control of the back, or at least stepping up, because I think they definitely have the most potential. A disappointed Daniel Carter, still injured and couldn't get in the game. He's another young guy that just has been very impressive in the running game. And I'm hoping that, the more reps we get, the better these guys are going to see the holes and hit them. And hopefully our running game is going to improve because we still need to run the ball better. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Still need to do that.
But it wasn't Israel Abadakonda still towards the bottom of the depth chart in the running backs with the new. But
I don't even think Coach Narduzzi makes those.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
I'd like to see some more Todd Sibley in certain situations as well. He's a guy that I like because he falls forward when he runs.
Yeah,
I think in certain situations he's still an option.
Yeah, I mean they have short yardage guys. It's just their short yardage calls too are really interesting and very. I get worried, and I feel like they had a lot of them in that game too. And Sibley really hasn't been a tried. I feel like in a crucial short yardage, and I think Daniel Carter would probably get that call before him even. But we'll see. I
agree.
And not having tight ends also hurts in those scenarios. And they had two of them out over the weekend, Vince, and one of them still out. One of them, they took his number and gave it to another guy. How's that even work? What's up with Lucas Kroll?
Yeah, that's not a good sign. It sounds like he was on crutches for this ball game. Who knows how long he could be out? A lot of rumors swirling there. Kai Wright also out, saying you're down to your third and fourth tight ends. In fact, I was just rewatching the tape of this game. There were some plays where Jared Wayne was lining up as like an inline tight end position almost next to the tackle. So I think they're getting a little creative here on short notice with this small room. But Moraga, he did catch a pass, a tight end catching a pass. I think that's very important going forward, especially with your top two guys out. I don't think there's going to be very many tight end targets at all, if any, going forward.
Caught a pass for a first down to Moraga in that game, and that was just chef's kiss. Mwah, beautiful to see for once in a Pitt Panther uniform. But that is one to monitor, that Kroll situation for sure, because now DJ Turner is wearing the 7, and I don't know what that means.
I want to talk a little bit about that because
he's listed day to day, according to the latest Narduzzi press conference. Said he's day to day.
And this is something that's bothering me a little bit because we said this is going to be a guy that's going to make these tough catches for them, and early in this game that there were several times, particularly in the red zone or on the Louisville side of the field, where it was third and medium, and instead of going to a Jordan Addison or a DJ Turner or even a Tayseer Mack, they attempted these screen passes, which and they were very telegraphed, and they didn't go anywhere, Pam. And you got to think, shouldn't these be the kind of passes that are going to these guys, or were maybe they concerned that they don't have Lucas Kroll out there, that they don't want to attempt anything like that? I mean, later in the game, I think it changed a little bit, but I wanted to see a little bit more aggressiveness on third down, especially with all these receivers that I think have been very impressive.
Yeah, along the same lines, I don't think they're attacking the middle of the field too well, and maybe it's because of the absence of the tight end. I don't know. I'd like to see them attack up the middle, especially on these third down plays a little bit. I mean, this receiver core has proved nothing but exceeded expectations so far. I mean, Turner seems to be catching everything very well. Addison's can break off and make some big plays. He's an excellent player.
How the hell did he catch that one pass, Pam? Explain to me still. How did he catch that pass? I don't even know how that happened, Jordan Addison. So he's breaking out to be a superstar, possibly.
Yeah, and I think you have these great receivers. Why are you settling for these short screen passes? Does it go back? I feel like we talked about this last year. Does it go back to lack of confidence in the offensive line, or is it Whipple's scheme?
Oh man, and then imagine though what's going to happen if it is lack of confidence in the offensive line. Gabe Hoy gets injured in this game too. We'll see how this all plays out, but the game plan will be something to really watch against NC State, and that might be telling. Pam, you might get your answer actually when it comes to the offensive line and what they're trying to disguise or what kind of weaknesses maybe they're trying to work around in that regard. We'll see. I think we're going to find that out right away.
I will say, Gabe Hoy getting hurt, and Pam will attest to this. He needs more padding protection on his arms. He's just wearing rags out there, which is
I still don't understand. This is something we needed to bring up last week. He's wearing like old cut up T-shirts wrapped around his arms, tied.
Yeah,
so
maybe it's like a lucky rag he wears around. Maybe it's like his nana's old pajamas that he's wrapping around his arms or something.
Or maybe his grandma's babushka. Well, anyway, hopefully he could come back and play this week. But if not, Carson Van Lin, who filled in for the most part over the weekend, I thought he did pretty good. Was the offensive line perfect, this year or this past game? No, but I thought that they were more than adequate. They're going to need to do better, both run blocking and pass blocking whenever they start to play some of these better defenses. But, I don't think it was a weakness. And specifically at right tackle, I don't think Carson Van Lin was a weakness at all. This is a kid that's been, kind of waiting in the wings for a while. And now it's his opportunity.
So the Panthers get the win and they fall in the rankings somehow to 24th. We'll get to that in a bit, but first in the ACC in yards per game on defense, 17 total sacks for the unit, best in all of college football. And the only bummer I think that comes from the Louisville game is that they won in those uniforms, so we're probably going to have to see them again, Pam, which I don't think I want, but whatever, as long as they're winning in them.
You didn't like them because you're colorblind and you can't see very well what colors they were. I love them, but they're like a once a year, once every few years type of thing.
I don't think they're going to be wearing them very often.
No, me neither.
At all.
This was very deceptive because the Twitter videos were a lot darker and it made it seem like these were going to be a lot different than, I don't know, just looking like Seattle Seahawk ripoff jerseys, quite frankly.
You're the only one that thinks that.
Yeah, they were exactly what I suspected. I thought they looked good. The only thing I would change is they had the dark names on the back. I don't think that was necessary. And they had the dark numbers on the shoulder pads. I don't think they needed that. But other than that, I thought they were great.
The Steel Panthers did it, so that's all I care about. Where they could wear, everyone could just wear rags like Gabe Hoy, and I as long as they win, I don't care. We'll still probably be in some traditional uniforms this week against NC State, and I think that'll fare well as well because the NC State team coming in is it's not this NC State team that's got Bradley Chubb out there destroying everybody, Vince. This is not a Wolfpack team that I fear, except that I fear that they are coached well enough to upset a team like Pitt, but I definitely think Pitt should handle them.
You would think so. This team in their first couple games, they beat Wake Forest 45-42 in a highly promoted contest. I'll say that. But then last week, that was embarrassing against Virginia Tech, losing 45-24. Virginia Tech was down to the third string quarterback at one point, gave up over 300 yards on the ground. This team just does not look very good. I will say that if there is, a couple areas, I think, at least on offense, they have a nice, running attack. I think their running backs have looked good. Two big guys, 6-footers, 200 plus pounds. Ricky Person, Zonaven Knight, he's 220 pounds. So bigger guys than Pitt's face. So they're going to have to really be, ready to strap it on and make some tackles against these guys, specifically also because, NC State's quarterback situation has not looked good. We're not even quite sure who the starter is going to be, either Bailey Hawkman or Devin Leary. Both those guys have not looked great so far. And I don't know if it's a lack of good receivers or what, but their passing game has really struggled.
And the Panthers facing a team that's going to be trying to run it down their throats maybe this week. We don't want to see more of that Hawkins run, Pam. So this is something that might be a matchup issue for the Pitt Panthers. They like getting after quarterbacks, but with NC State's strength being the run game, it's a different challenge this week than what they saw last week against Louisville for sure. And of course, with if you even count the Austin PA game, this is a lot different than last week for sure.
Yeah, but I think this Pitt defense will be prepared. They need to be disciplined, and I'm interested to see if they have more guys in on the rush to prevent them running through them and just leaving some of the defensive backs kind of by themselves in certain situations, and bringing more linebackers. And it'll be interesting to see if they really sell out for the run and make these one or two quarterbacks try and beat them without a threat of a main receiver as well.
Well, that's, that calls to mind, Chase Pine, he's going to have a big game. Wendell Davis, appears like he's going to be out for a little while at that middle linebacker position. Chase Pine played last week. He's going to have a big game this week because if NC State tries to run, right at the heart of this defense, he's going to have to be the guy that's going to be making the tackles. It's going to be very important for him.
They got a big Canadian on their team that's been getting after quarterbacks too, Daniel Joseph. So I would not put it past NC State making Kenny Pickett's game, at least to start, hellish because of that awkward defense, Pam. You mentioned at the top of the show.
Yeah, they played that 3-3-5, which Syracuse played. I'm hoping this is something that Pitt can come out and attack right away since they saw it already against Syracuse. Maybe we weren't Syracuse, they did well, but we felt like they could have attacked a little better on offense, and especially to start that game. So hopefully they can start out and attack right away since they've seen this defense. Obviously different personnel, but I think the second time seeing them might be a better option for this team.
Yeah, 2 points there that I really liked. It's the second time seeing it, and this is probably a team that's going to be blitzing heavy at you, and you're going to need to be able to pick up those blitzes. So the more familiar you are with that scheme, the better. And you talked about the personnel being different. This is a team that's given up over 45 points, over 40 points both their games. So that tells me right now this defense ain't that good.
No, and against Virginia Tech, who was on their second and third string quarterback, who's, we were questioning how good they'd be, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And, I'm a big fan of Sam Hartman down in Wake Forest, but that offense, is not lighting the world on fire, and they let up 42 points against them.
Yeah, this is a downer year for the NC State defense for sure. We'll see. At the whole school there, they've got furloughs and pay cuts going on there. They're kind of like the ACC's wazoo, because that's the same things are happening to them over in the Pac-12. So we're seeing a NC State team really coming up against an undefeated Pitt team, and they're wounded. This is a team that I feel is ripe for the picking for the Pitt Panthers, Vince, and I'm expecting big games from obviously the defensive line, but I'm expecting this to be a Paris Ford dominated game defensively. I think this is one he'll have fun with, and then offensively, I'm hoping Kenny Pickett breaks out and starts competing with Rashad Weaver for that Heisman. This is a big game for Kenny Pickett right here.
Yeah, huge for his Heisman hopes, and you would think
throw 6 touchdowns in a game if you want to be in that conversation right now.
That's a different situation going on down there. But I just want to see, I want to see points put on the board. I don't care how they are. I want to see a good, balanced, aggressive attack. When they run the ball, they got to run it effectively. If they get in a third and long situation, a third and medium situation, I want them go for the first down, make a good throw, because you got quality receivers from what I could see. So go and attack them. Don't be afraid, especially with how good your defense is. You don't if you give the ball back, on an aggressive play, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, because you got a great defense backing you up.
This person, I think, is going to be coming hard for Pitt too. Ricky Person Jr., I'm expecting to see be one of the more hype players on the field on Saturday. But it's going to be another solid big noon ACC matchup. College football last weekend was incredible. I think this weekend it's going to be even better. and I am loving every single second of it. And not only is college football on fire, the Pitt Panthers are right in the thick of it, Pam. Number 24 in the nation, but it's kind of BS. They're starting to rank teams that haven't even played games yet. Totally unfair. I count 4 Big Ten teams ahead of them, so technically I would say Pitt's number 20 in my eyes.
Well, I mean, Pitt can be the underdog. We can shock the world. No one believes in us. We have them right where we want them. We beat a top 25 team and we moved back spaces. I mean, we're not getting any respect, and I bet you that's exactly what Narduzzi is going to be putting on that bulletin board every week from now on out. So honestly, this might be one of the best things that happened to this team. Get a little fire, a little spark, especially on the offensive side. Get those guys playing with some intensity.
And OU lost. It wasn't even on pay-per-view, and they're still ranked ahead of us. It's whatever. You know.
So is LSU?
Yeah, but LSU dropped really significantly.
Yeah, and that they were not ready for the air raid. That's a whole nother thing. We'll see what LSU's really bringing it this week.
I think there's a lot of teams that they're not going to be ready for. They play Vanderbilt.
I was going to say they play Vanderbilt and then Mizzou, don't they?
Well, Vanderbilt gave Texas A&M all they could handle, and so Derek Mason, who I know you're a big fan of, he had him ready to play. I said it a couple weeks ago. LSU, they're going to be lucky to have a winning record.
Wow, and you might be right.
I agree with you.
I don't know. Coach O did not. His team just looked lost out there. But hey, we'll get to some more college football talk in a minute. Everyone's talking about college football and Pitt's spot among the elites and the undefeateds in college football. And it's all online. It's all sorts of different opinions. And we're going to go through some of the highlights of the week on the Pitternet.
Can you explain what internet is?
I hear there's rumors on the internets. And to all those faceless keyboard warriors on Twitter.
But we're a good darn football team. I'm proud of these guys.
From the Pittsburgh Panthers subreddit, Thugless Brown says, honestly, I'm not too upset with this, in reference to Pitt's spot in the AP poll. I'd rather see the team still feel like they have a lot to prove rather than being ranked in the top 20 and feeling like they could walk through their unranked games coming up. Pam, you kind of echoed what Thugless Brown said just now. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a pretty good comment by Thugless Brown there on the Pitternet.
That's accurate. Hey, we saw when Pitt got a lead against Louisville, they gave up a big run. If they get ranked too high against like an NC State, maybe they would, I don't know, drop a game that they shouldn't. So Thugless Brown is onto something there, I think. More on the Pittsburgh Panthers subreddit. P-I-T-T, talking about Miami here, said, legit though, people are like, that offense is unstoppable. And I'm like, calm down. They literally haven't faced a single competent defense. And I'm like, that's right. Vince, what do you think?
October
right.
17th.
That's 100% right. Florida State is just a disaster right now. I don't even know what to say that they're that bad. And this Louisville defense, they don't leave much to be desired. And they didn't look tremendously impressive against Alabama Birmingham. There's a lot of talent on that team. Don't get it twisted at all. But we'll see what they look like when they play a real defense, and that's actually going to be coming up very soon. 2 tough games for the Canes. Not this weekend, but next weekend they're playing the Clemson Tigers, and then following that, the Pitt Panthers. Maybe the 2 best defenses in the entire country they're going to be going up against back to back. So we'll see what they're made of.
Yeah, we'll find out about the U real quick. All right, this last one's from Panther Lair, and this is from Hail to Pitt, talking about Heather Lyke, saying that right now she's trying to get approval for 15% to 20% capacity of fans at football games. And Hail to Pitt's response on Panther Lair to this was, so back to normal already. Zing. Low blow, Pam?
I feel like that's the overworked joke. I mean, everyone can say, "Oh, Pitt's not going to have any fans." Oh, they're used to that. But I mean, come on, like that's a I don't know, not even a dad joke, because some of the dad jokes are a little clever. This one, I mean, everyone knew this joke was out there.
If you're typing zing on an internet comment, it's very lazy. You're even acknowledging how lazy you are. But I'm hoping for 20% capacity, just because if we're watching the game in your backyard, the fans will drown out everything else, and we don't hear first down from the stadium less than a mile away, and it ruins what we're seeing on the TV because there's a damn delay.
Yeah, we don't want to have that. That's why we've been trying to talk as loud as we can and make as much noise.
Or Vincent, Pam really should have, for all the listeners on the Twitter, should have taken the video of Vince. I should have pulled, my camera's damn broken. I would have done it. Vince watching the end of the game, covering his ears so the stadium wouldn't spoil what was going on, was highlight of the, besides Moraga's catch, to me, highlight of the game. And it was good to see. And it's good that a lot of positive talk there, except for the cheap zing on the Pitternet. So kind of different week on the Pitternet. But what about around town, Vince? I was at the library earlier today, and we were whispering to each other, but I was wearing my Pitt mask that your mom made for me, and someone said, "That's a nice mask, undefeated, baby." And I said, "Yeah, I'd give you a high five, but there's plexiglass in between us. Can I recheck out my book?" And he said, "Yeah, Hail to Pitt." So that's what they're saying at the library. What about around town?
Yeah, there's a lot of hype surrounding this team, but also a lot of skepticism.
As always.
Another Saturday coming, and the Panthers are playing. Trying to find out what the answers are saying.
Let me tell you something. If Pitt wins this week and they start 4-0, they're for real. They ain't done that since Three Rivers.
4-0? That don't mean nothing unless they beat Penn State, Notre Dame, and WVU. You know that.
Pitt would beat all those teams, you jagoff.
You're telling me this? You really think they could beat Blackledge, Montana, and Major Harris?
Hail to Pitt.
What the answers are saying.
So that's what the answers are saying. Pitt, we're going to find out, if, how, for real this team could be. Before you beat the big guys, you got to show that you could take care of the small guys. So we will find out this week. And there's a lot going on in the college football world, Alan. It's starting to finally feel like a good college football Saturday. We got a couple, SEC Titans going at it against each other.
Oh, college football! You came back in full force last week, and Mike Leach ruined it for everybody. I am terrified, if I'm any other team in college football, of playing KJ Costello, Mike Leach, and an SEC air raid. That was scary, what went down at Tiger Stadium last week. I don't care what happens in Auburn and Georgia, because neither of those teams can beat that team. No way in hell.
I don't know about that.
Mesh all day long, just crossing routes all over the place. How the hell's that? I don't care what great athletes you got. You're not going to be able to stop that.
You could say that, but in my opinion, and I've been saying this, LSU is extremely overrated. They lost so many good players, and on top of that, what's been the one thing that's always stopped LSU from winning a national championship? It's been a good quarterback and good coaches, and they lost all that stuff. They just lost too much. They had the greatest team last year, maybe of all time, but this year they're just not at that level.
Yeah, again, to go back to my favorite publication, that Phil Steele magazine, they have a point system that rates, what you lose each season on the field, at least, not even talking about coaches, with highly touted players and big-time drafted players, and they accumulate all these points, and the more points you have, the more likely you are to not have as good of a record as the previous season. No team has accumulated as many offseason points as the LSU Tigers. They're way down there. OU goes down too, though, a big shocker last week, Pam. And that was seen by everybody, not just the people who forked out $70 on pay-per-view. K-State does it again.
Yeah, K-State playing the spoiler again against OU. It looks like OU's defense again is just terrible. I mean, I thought some of these Big 12 defenses were improving, but not OU's.
I gotta give it up to you too, Pam. I think the Rattler is just not ready for primetime. He is not on the level of someone like your Bo Nix, who is much better.
I don't think he's ready. I'm not saying he's not going to get there, but I just there were some questionable decisions in that game.
Well, I heard from a source this week that Oklahoma is already bringing in next year's quarterback to replace the Rattler.
Oh,
and
wow.
He is essentially going to be a 1-year starter. That was some of the information I heard over the weekend.
How good would it have been better, though, if Texas would have ended up losing that game, too, last week? Because then they're in the driver's seat. I think they should be able to coast now to a Big 12 title.
Well, they're going to have the Red River Showdown. I believe that's next week. So we'll find out. That's a do or die game for the Sooners.
Yeah, there's already intrigue in the Big 12. The SEC's back in full effect. I mean, the A&M and Alabama, I feel like this is not – everybody wants this to be a close game and wants to have memories of Johnny Manziel dancing in their heads, but this is going to be a blowout. Come on.
Yeah, Texas A&M did not look good against Vanderbilt, and Alabama they're looking like the old Alabama. Maybe and even angrier Alabama than what they have been. They got a lot of firepower on that team.
The thing is, though, I don't think anger will help you whenever you end up playing Mississippi State. You can't play against that team angry. You might even need to you need to kneel the ball down a little bit. You really need to squeeze some damn clock. What did they throw, like 90 times in that game? Oh, that was scary, college football, watching them. And I can't believe Pitt leapfrogged the Raging Cajuns too, Pam. They're out of the top 25, even though they're still chugging along undefeated. SEC coming back last week squeezed out all those group of 5 teams from the national recognition. We don't have to really care about watching, like Troy play anymore.
Troy's game's postponed this week, so we don't have to care about Troy at all this week. Their game is postponed for COVID this upcoming here.
What about Rice? Do I have to care about
group of 5 teams?
Should I care about Rice playing, or I don't know, like UAB or these teams? Okay, good. I'll probably still have them on, but.
You should care about Raging Cajuns, App State, Marshall, schools like that. It's good to see them. Cincinnati.
There's a big SMU Memphis game supposedly scheduled for this week.
Memphis, have they played?
I don't think they've played yet. I'll try to tune into that game. But in the late window, I'm definitely going to be watching this Auburn Georgia game. Pam, I already know that you're picking Auburn to win because of Bo Nix.
I am not just because of Bo Nix. JT Daniels is going to be cleared to play for this game. Is he going to start? It's coaches, they're not giving anything up. It sounds like he's going to start, but Georgia had some quarterback issues in their first game against Arkansas. Redshirt freshman DeJuan Mathis started, and he did not great. And then they pulled him, and the backup Stetson Bennett came in the second quarter. I mean, Arkansas is not very good here, but
is he related to Colt Bennett?
I don't know. It sounds like a good name.
Rooster? He learned how to play football on the ranch. That's for damn sure.
But Stetson Bennett here, I mean, he I think JT Daniels is going to play. It sounds like he's going to play, but Georgia's quarterback picture this week didn't get any clearer. But if JT Daniels comes in, he got hurt last year, and so we'll see. But I think Auburn, it might be the more complete team. But that's
Really?
the reason they're getting
I don't care
six
for
and a
Auburn.
half is a little troublesome. But
Georgia's defense is still
I
pretty
know,
good.
and Georgia itself is very good. I'm a big fan of the Bulldogs here, but I like Auburn. Maybe because I like Bo Nix. Maybe that's why.
I think that's why. I don't care for Auburn at all.
I don't think Auburn's defense is as good as in years past.
No, it's not.
But I think then.
But they got Bo Nix.
Well, they're going against Georgia. It's going to be like good versus bad. So you got Auburn's weakness might be their defense compared to Georgia's weakness, which is their offense. So.
Yeah. But whenever Bo Nix has the ball, it's going to be good on good.
They only put up 37 against Arkansas, a historically bad SEC team. Georgia last week.
And they really didn't do well.
Arkansas is probably the worst team in the SEC this year. And
is it even close? Maybe Vanderbilt.
No, I think Vanderbilt's probably better. But Arkansas is the worst. They got a lot.
Arkansas is like 1990s Vanderbilt bad this year. They're really bad.
That's probably true. But Georgia seems like they were just working some things out, and they'll be. I expect them to play better. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I expect them to play better than they did last week.
I'm a Bo Nix believer. I'm going Auburn for the victory. I'm going Alabama for the victory. You know what else I'm going to be watching? I'm having on the smaller screen the other big noon on ABC, Baylor and WVU. Just to watch. I just want to watch Dave Aranda's team out there. I want to see Dave Aranda coach. Covered the guy at LSU for a while. This is his first real big game against the Mountaineers. Be rooting hard for the Baylor Bears, Pam. I know you don't want to hear that, but it is WVU.
Yeah, it is WVU, but I don't like either of these teams. Can the game end in like a tie or a cancellation? Not for COVID reasons, just because both teams I don't like.
This is not the NFL. No ties. Charlie Brewer should go out there and I think dominate West Virginia, though. So that's probably what's going to happen. And we're going to have a big college football weekend. I don't know if we're going to be hearing about any big upsets like we did last week. But I think we'll be hearing about some quarterbacks that threw for 6 touchdowns, Vince. Definitely some of that. But I don't know. I hope last week didn't spoil us because that was amazing. That was big upsets, big games. We'll see this weekend, though.
Yeah, we will see. I'm excited about it, but not as excited as I am for this big noon kickoff on the ACC network. North Carolina State. Coming to play the Pitt Panthers. This is just a massive game.
So let me ask you, what is your prediction for the game?
I think this team. I think Coach has this team focused. I really do. I think he has them focused. I don't know. I don't know if anybody will ever be satisfied, with how they play. But I think this team's going to win. I think Pitt's going to come out and beat them pretty good. I'm going to say it'll be 31-10.
31-10. If that happens, I'm going to be doing a cartwheel, not a backflip, but I'll do a cartwheel because I don't think Pitt would have punted a whole lot and kicked a whole lot. I just don't want to see the kickers at all this game. That's just all I want. I don't want to see Kessman out there, even though he did well, Pam. I don't want to see Christodoulou. I want to see domination, but I don't know if that's going to happen this week. I've got a more conservative 26-18 victory happening for the Panthers.
I'm going to go, that is a little more conservative.
That's very concerning if the score is that close. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to go 38-21. And I think the Pitt Panthers defense may score and get in the end zone here.
You think they're going to give up 21 points to NC State?
Yeah, I think at the end they'll get some garbage time. I think Pitt will have this one pretty in hand, though.
Do you think it'll be a mercy rule situation?
No, I don't think we'll ever see that again.
Yeah,
because I don't know if they'll ever allow that to happen.
Yeah, who knows? They might just go to an all ACC only schedule in the future if Nick Saban has his way with all of college football. I'm kind of hoping that's the case. I think defensively, I have them scoring under 20 points, Vince. I'm there. It's just we haven't seen the explosivity yet from the offense, and the defense I think is going to maybe score in this game. I definitely think we're going to see a defensive or special team score, and probably a big play from someone like Paris Ford. I really do believe that. This is kind of a game tailor-made for a veteran leader to really make their mark on the season in this one. I think this is what we're going to see in this game. And hopefully Kenny Pickett's one of those guys, but I'm kind of leaning towards maybe some miscommunications somehow. I don't know if it's because of the injuries on the offensive line. Play calling might be an issue. I don't know. Did you notice any running to the sidelines, Pam, last week? I didn't. I
noticed a few, yeah. I mean, I do think the camera, being in person, you can see of it more, but I saw more of it against Syracuse, but definitely a few last time. But I think this is going to be the game. The Pitt offense breaks out a little bit here. 38-20.
If not now, when are they going
exactly.
to? Yeah, I mean,
this might be other than Austin, PA, but this might be the worst defense or the worst team, I guess, overall. I know they have a few guys on defense, but maybe Boston. I don't know. We'll see. It's still early.
Boston College seems to be a mystery. Georgia Tech still not good. Florida State definitgoing not good.
Yeah, maybe Florida State. I know NC State has some guys on that side of the ball, but I'm going to be a confident Pitt person this week, which I know there's very few and far between of us, but
NC State's just rubbing their hands together right now. They think they got us right where they want us.
Yeah, this could be the proverbial trap game. If you're starting 3-0, you're looking at 4-0 for the first time in 20 years, Pam, you said? My goodness.
Yep, 20 years.
20-year drought of 4-0 starts. The confidence, I think, is slowly creeping into the Panther fans. The Panthers are feeling it, but I think after this one is when they'll really get going, and that hype for October 17th is really going to start, I think, hitting everybody real hard. How do you like me now? But there's business to take care of before then, for sure. Anything left? Pam, I think we thoroughly previewed this game. I cannot wait for another college football weekend.
Nope, just hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
Thanks for listening to the show, everybody. Follow us at H2P Show. We will be active all weekend. Let's kick some Wolfpack butt. And we'll see you next week right here on the Hail to Pitt podcast. Hail to Pitt, everybody.